going on, guys? We're racing. We're back. We're going to be talking the F1 discussion, talking about some of the testing. We've got some of the final stats now. So we've got some numbers to crunch and to see where all the teams lie in the pecking order, what we can make of it anyway. Everyone's holding their cards very firmly close to their chest. Mercedes have been doing it throughout the test by the look of it, and we'll get onto them in a minute. We're going to wait a minute, try to get some people joining. I don't know if Warren or any of the other lads are going to be on. So I'm going to just wait for some comments and then we're going to get cracking with the facts. What's going on? How have you all been? What have you been up to? You had a nice weekend? Oh, I get the comments. There's 2 people watching. Hey. So we're going to get into laps completed. Testing's all about mileage. So we're going to get into laps completed. Testing's all about mileage. Apologies for that. I don't have my social media advisor on hand at the minute. So yeah, we're going to get into the laps completed in the F1 test. So Mercedes headed the field. They had they went for all the long runs. They looked to really try and break the car, try and push it as hard as they could till something broke, and they managed to clock up 1,126 laps. 1,126 laps. That's a great test for Mercedes. I think with that original first test car, the correlation to the new upgrade, I think that's going to be very important for Mercedes because they're going to have some good data looking at 2 comparisons. I know Ferrari, they've brought their ultimate A car to the test, so there might be a bit ahead of Mercedes because of that as well, but I don't think it will stand Mercedes in bad stead for having that comparison between the 2 different aero packages which they've been running in the test. So 1,126 laps, probably equivalent to about 86 race distances, I think it is, which is not 18 race distances. Sorry for that. Ferrari, they managed to clock up 997 laps, which is very impressive. Renault 961. Not many people would have said that. 935 for Toro Rosso. Alfa got 922. McLaren 873. And then we got the Haas 871, Red Bull 833. And Racing Point had quite a few issues throughout the week. I think a lot of the teams are suffering with parts. They don't have enough components really to run all the programs that they want to run. In particular, they could run the car, but it could be pointless data for them. And then Williams 567. Well, they made up quite a few laps considering they had a slow start, but they got about a quarter of the laps half the laps of the Mercedes. So that's not bad going considering they missed them first 3 days of testing. Now, if we get into the lap times, that's when it really gets interesting now because on the final day of the second preseason test, that's when we really saw teams just throw caution to the wind and say, right, let's strap on some really quick tyres, see what this car can do, and take it from there. So Sebastian Vettel, he got the fastest time on 1:16.221. So that's a really impressive time. Lewis Hamilton, though, 2:24, 16.224, separated by 0.05 of a second. So that's really impressive, I must say, from the Mercedes. So I think there's going to be a good chance of a scrap for pole position when it comes to Australia. It's going to be really interesting. Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari, that was on day 7, and he got a 1:16.231. So you can see he's right there. And if you compare Lewis Hamilton to Bottas, Bottas is down. He's got 1:16.5 to Lewis Hamilton's 1:16.2. That's probably about right. That's probably the margin between the 2 drivers, I would suggest, based on the previous season. Who else? We got Nico Hulkenberg on the Renault on his final day. He got 1:16.8. That's a really impressive time. Then Alexander Albon, he's been the star of the show for my test so far. He's really impressed me with his maturity. He said he felt shocked when he got in the car and he felt that extra speed. And he was really taken back. And I think he's just in awe and just enjoying it at the minute. And he managed to get a 1:16.8. Of course, it's going to be different when he's got, all these other cars around him going into turn 1 at Albert Park. But yeah, he's my one to watch. Danny Kvyat, his teammate was slightly slower than him, just at 8.98 to his 8.82. So that's a really impressive time as well. And then we got Carlos Sainz in the McLaren. I think the McLaren, they've been showing a bit more pace than what they've actually got. It's going to be interesting how they're going to shape up in that midfield fight. I think Toro Rosso are going to be punching. Renault should be punching. They've had updates on their engine. Some really good sounds coming out of them. They've got some really high goals now, so we're going to be watching out for them. Who else? We've got Grosjean, 17-0. Lando Norris, 17-0 as well. Pierre Gasly in the Red Bull. The Red Bull, I don't think they're going to be competing initially for race wins, but at certain tracks, like we know, like Monaco, like Singapore, they could be a threat because that high rake and sort of smaller wheelbase configuration which they're running, which really can benefit them at certain tracks and hinder them at other tracks as well. So I don't expect them to be winning until like the second half of the year, but I think they will come strong later on in the year. Who else we got? Pierre Gasly. Pierre Gasly. Where do we start? He's had a terrible test. The confidence must have been knocked out of him. He's got a lot of eyes on him now in the big team. You know, got that promotion. So he's going to have a solid first few races. Just bring the car home, get some solid points, and take it from there. Danny Ricciardo, nothing to lose in his Red Bull. He's going to be his Red Bull, his Renault. He's going to be really challenging this year and scrapping like Fernando in a bit of a slower car. So watch out for him. He's going to be at the head of the midfield, I expect. Further down, we've got Kimi Räikkönen in Alpha. I think he's going to be really set loose this year. He's going to be free. You're going to see him enjoy his racing a bit more, and I think that's going to come out with some better results and consistency from him as well. Lance Stroll in the Racing Point, Daddy's car, 117.5. K-Mag in his Haas, he got a 117.565. Giovinazzi in the Alfa Romeo, 117.6. Verstappen, he got his fastest time on C3 softs on the final day, 17.7. So that's quite impressive considering it was on the C3. He's getting some good pace on that car. We've got Sergio Perez quite far down, not looking too quick. George Russell, fastest of the Williams drivers. He got a 118.1. They look a million miles away. I don't think they have anything like a full spec car. I think like the front wing is just a show wing. It's just very, very basic just to get the car running basically. So it's going to be another test for them when it gets to Albert Park. Them 3 practice sessions, understanding the car, getting the balance as comfortable as possible. Kubica's come out and said that he's probably had about 20% of the preparation that he needs to come back into F1. And I was very concerned when I heard Kubica say that, because you don't want that going into a race, you know, especially if you are slightly hindered like he is as well. So watch out for that. Yeah, not going to be looking forward to that. What else we got to talk about? Breakdowns. No considerable breakdowns really, like if you think like consistently the reoccurring problems so much, but Ferrari, they've had some exhaust issues. It's been on the Haas and the Ferrari. The Alpha looked okay. Maybe it's just a bad batch of, you know, like a gasket or something, because they had some gas leak apparently from the exhaust, which was causing havoc with their car. Then Mercedes, they had slight oil pressure issue with I think Valtteri's car. Other than that, they've been pretty much bulletproof. It's been smashing the laps in, so they look pretty good. Red Bull, they've had a few issues with their gearbox. I think it could be where they tightly package their car so much. It's just a learning phase. And then you've got Honda. All the Honda power cars, like the engine themselves, the power units, they look really, really consistent. So I think Honda are going to perform well this year in terms of a manufacturer, and I think they're really going to bring updates after updates. They've only got a 2-year deal with Red Bull, so I think this is the year to deliver now. It's the time to make a point and to really get behind the Red Bull and Toro Rosso boys and motor them up the field. Let me know any comments you got, any talking points you want to discuss from the test and for the upcoming race. I'm just going to try and check some comments on my phone now, so I'm going to be a few minutes whilst I do that. A few moments, should I say. Then catch back up. So unseen live. Nice, you're actually doing this. How neat. Well, if you say so, we're just giving it a go. If Ferrari is better in performance, Merc may get them in reliability. That's a very good point. It's okay to be fast, but you've got to finish the race to win it. So that's the first point. So teams approaching it different ways. Ferrari focusing on pure performance, and yeah, Mercedes focusing on durability, which is we'll see which one shakes out the best. Oi, Warren, what's going on, mate? Wish McLaren stuck it through with Honda. I do as well. The relationship turned very toxic very quickly. I think Fernando, he cultivated a lot of this atmosphere around McLaren and made it McLaren versus Honda, like we saw with Red Bull versus Renault, you know, like the blame game, GP2 engine, all of these comments. I think it really damaged the relationship. You really need a tight one, and it looks like Toro Rosso established that very well last year, and it's carried through to Red Bull. We hope to see them hopefully we see a Honda victory this year. We don't know who it might be in the Toro Rosso or the Red Bull. You'd expect the Red Bull. Kimi, like he was in Lotus, yeah. You see him when he come out first race before, I think it was in Australia, and smashed it, got the victory. That'd be great to see. I think the midfield pack is going to offer better racing than the front runners with Danny Rick, Hulkenberg, and Kimi, and then all of promising rookies this year. And Kubica Fernie is going to be very tasty, very, very tasty. I agree with you 100%, Warren. It's going to be really spicy, and with this extra advantage, they're getting about 30%, not advantage, but like less disadvantage, you could say, being behind the car, being able to attack, having that extra punch with that DRS as well. It's going to be really interesting. The drivers seem very happy with what the sport's done. Remember, it was last year in Albert Park where we had the boring race, and then Ross Brawn and I think some of the Australian stewards, they come up with this plan to make the racing as it is today, change the 2019 specs and regs, and we can see the result of it this year. So do you think the racing is going to be better this year at Albert Park? Are we going to see more overtakes? It's going to be interesting. Let's watch out. Let's try and compare from the previous year. Do you know if Honda did any collaboration with McLaren cars when they were together? I said Online Salvo may collab with Alphas. I haven't seen any. Do you mean in other projects, or do you mean like cars, or I don't know? Road cars, okay, road cars. No, I don't think they did, to be honest. I don't know what I think they build them all in house. To be honest, I'm not quite sure. Warren Parker says being able to put more body weight is going to offer some difference due to them before having to starve themselves. So yeah, you're going to see drivers a lot more fit, a lot more game going into it, a lot more pumped up. You hope, and be able to handle the cars, really chuck them about, and in them hot conditions as well. You'd hope not be worried about dehydration. Nico Hulkenberg, he's still like on the limits, so you wouldn't expect him to bulk up too much. But the shorter drivers, in particular, it's good for the younger lads. It gives them a bit of an allowance. If they don't use the full weight allowance, then it will be used as a ballast around the cockpit, so it's not biased like it's been in the past, for instance. No, Honda and McLaren didn't, unfortunately. Yeah, very unfortunate. We're going to have a look through the news now. Going to get some talking points for this week. So yeah, Kubica is saying he's only about 20% prepared for Australia, so he's got a lot of work to do when it comes to free practice. Hamilton has little good to say about the 2019 tyres. I think that's a result of the Mercedes struggling to turn the tyres on. We've seen that in seasons gone by, where they've really had to come up with these really good solutions to try and get the tyres in the right operating window. We've seen it with the rear tyres in particular struggling, and they've had them drilled grooves in the actual rim just to try and regulate the heat whilst it's spinning. And Ferrari have copied it this year. I think you'll see it on the McLaren already. Be interesting to see how many other teams do adopt them rims which they've been running. Is it an illegal device as well? It could be up for protest. So Perez, he's lauding a very incredible job what the F1 management group have done. Well, not management group, but what the rule makers have done for this year. So he's quite happy. Thinks there's going to be more overtaking. What else? So yeah, there's a big talking point about a lot of races. I heard there's the contract is up, of course, for Silverstone this year. Is it going to get signed? Is there going to be any backing coming from anywhere? Some big sponsor come in, and apparently Silverstone, they've offered to F1 so that they own the rights and everything, and they'll just help cover the operating costs. That's all they want, Silverstone. They don't want to make a profit on it, and the minute they're making a loss. So hopefully we can keep Silverstone on the calendar, because we're not going to have another British Grand Prix unless it's funded by the government, London or something like that, or another city. Can't see it happening. Also, I think Spanish Grand Prix, what was the other one? German, and the Mexican Grand Prix, they're all up as well, their contracts. So hopefully they all get funding, otherwise the calendar will reduce. Is that going to be a good thing or bad thing? Let me know your thoughts on that as well. I think Ferrari is still a bit concerned about Sebastian Vettel's failure on the front left going into turn 3. That was a big shunt, and a foreign object to strike it. I don't know what kind of foreign object could cause that to a rim, whether it caught the lip of the tire, made it delaminate. It's a very strange one. You do hear like a break, a snap when he's, and then you just hear a skid. So it sounds like something with the tire has gone wrong. So it's going to be interesting if they can get to the bottom of that. Hopefully they'll release a bit more information. Ferrari, they've come out with a statement, and it says basically that Sebastian Vettel and Charles Leclerc, you're free to fight. Now, are we going to see that? Is that the truth, do you think, everyone? I think it's going to be very difficult for Charles Leclerc to really put it on Sebastian and, you know, fly down the inside, shut the door on him without raising too many eyebrows in the garage. So I want to see that, though. Would you think that's going to happen? Is Charles going to get the better of Sebastian this year? We've got some new driver lineup, so it's going to be a good comparison this year. The likes of George Russell are up against the seasoned Robert Kubica. Who else we got? Gasly, you know, going up against Max Verstappen. I think Max is going to get the better of him 100%. Who else we got that's been shaken up? Ferrari's the major one that I'm going to be looking for. Kimi Raikkonen in his car as well. That's going to be interesting. Lando Norris up against Carlos Sainz. That's a big ask for him. So Alpha, they've retained their female driver, Calderon, for this year. So expect to see her at some tests. Great for the sport, I must say. Hamilton thinks there's about half a second advantage for Ferrari to the Mercedes. I don't expect it to be anywhere near that. Maybe 3, maximum 4, I would say. But I think they're going to surprise us. They're going to come out the bag quick, Mercedes, and they're definitely going to be on the second row. I don't see a Red Bull in front of them unless one of the cars does have a problem or a grid penalty, you know, for a change of component maybe. So yeah, I'm going to get another video out very shortly. We're just going to do all of the times. We're going to go through the distance covered, give you some visuals, give you some sounds of the different cars as well. The first one will just be about the test overall, data from it, information, and the second one we'll go through all the different teams, hear the different cars, power units, comparisons through different corners, and we'll try and get that out of the course of tomorrow and Tuesday. So thanks for watching. Let me know any other topics of discussion which I haven't covered. I've probably missed quite a lot, to be honest, because this is just a bit off the cuff, catch up with you guys, and that's it. So oh, I didn't see all the comments here. It's just all popped up. Right. I noticed it with Bottas and Stroll look bulkier. Interesting. I've not noticed it. I've not really seen too many driver interviews. I've read the text. The tyres are so confusing. The tyres, I don't understand it. Like, we just got used to, you know, the ultra soft, super soft, all the rest of it. And now we've got to go C1, C5, you know, and it's just for the average spectator who tunes in for, you know, every other race or whatever. That's going to be really confusing for them. It's going to be off-putting as well. Just downright confusing. Mexico is gone, you think, unseen. Sounds like Ericsson. They're saying that they want a 25 race calendar. I think that's really hard for the smaller teams to do when you think of the budgets. I think the prize money dropped last year, and all of them little pieces, they count for them little teams, especially when it comes to like for Williams this year, for instance. So hopefully there's not too many additions anyway. Charles is not going to better Seb. Okay, I wish I could bet you on this somehow. I think Charles Leclerc is really going to put it on him this year. Peace out, brother. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll catch up with you very soon. Have a nice evening, and yeah, tune in again soon.